Hello there, one and all, and thank you very much for tuning into episode 581 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, live on YouTube as always. Whether you're watching the live or you're watching the recording, you are very, very welcome. The second of the two videos that we're doing today, just quickly for the benefit of those of you watching live, and the plan is to get through as many of these as possible. We should be able to get through all of them. They're basically kind of newish releases for September 2025. Some of them came out maybe a couple of months ago, but never mind. We'll call them new releases for now. Holly is here saying hello again. Who's this? When will you be trying the new Intuition by Aramis? Hopefully soon, but I haven't yet decided whether I'm going to review it on here or on the blog or on the Substack. We'll see. First live I'm catching, says Mark. You're very, very welcome. Well done. Well done for making it. Claire is here as well saying hi, Mr. P and fans. Menchie Extract says, I see Acqua Di Parma. I've yet to find one I really love. Might get a decant of Chinotto. Noah, yeah, there you go. That's the kind of thing. Thank you very much, Noah. You're going to get yourself banned from the channel now. Ralph says, like the concept behind Above Us Steorra. Oh, sorry, the Aesop. Yes. But not heard positive news, but look forward to hearing your thoughts. Okay, well, we've got quite a lot to get through. If you'd like to find out how you can support my work, you should be able to see a link to my coffee page in the video description below. There's also a link to my Substack in case you'd like to subscribe to that. Whether you're watching the live or you're watching the recording, feel free to leave a comment, ask a question anytime. Even if you're watching this 3 or 4 years after it's been broadcast, it's amazing how many of the old videos still get some questions. And the last thing I was going to say is if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Okay, let's start with Acqua Di Parma actually, because I wore one new-ish Acqua Di Parma scent a lot this summer. It became a real summer hit, and it was one that I reviewed here a little while ago, their Buongiorno. I really hope it does well for them. It's a brand, I'm pretty sure I said in the video where I talked about Buongiorno, it's a brand that, at least in the UK, struggles to come out of the cologne mould. Everyone, not surprisingly, associates it with their cologne. It is a brilliant cologne, but they keep trying different things. They keep trying different ranges. They keep trying different sublines, and I'm not sure that those actually capture the imagination of people in quite the way that the brand hopes they would. The Blue Mediterraneo range doesn't do too badly, I believe, but they seem to be a bit uncertain about what to do with those as well. But Buongiorno was a standalone release, and it was just perfect. It was just note perfect. Really beautiful citrus notes, really nice minty herbal touches. So I hope that does well. Brand new from them though is this. It's called Gelsomino a Freddo, which I suppose means cold. Why isn't it zooming in? Or focusing, I should say. Okay, well, bear with me. I'll have to change the settings for the next video, but it should just be snapping into focus. Right, I can't actually bear things not happening properly. So, it should be doing it, but it's not. Okay, well, we'll have to abandon that. Let's just try one more time. Is it gonna? Never mind. We'll leave it for now. And the brand are claiming that the jasmine that has been used in this has actually been obtained through a cold enfleurage technique. Enfleurage is a material extraction technique that used to be quite standard practice a long time ago. Basically, it would involve laying the flowers, the petals, in wax and then waiting for the odorific components to get absorbed by the wax and then extracting them from the wax. Very labor intensive, quite low yield, doesn't get used a lot nowadays, but they reckon that at least some of the jasmine they've used in this one has been obtained through an enfleurage technique. The camera's more interested in the roses, says Bruxus. Yes, I know. It should be snapping into... I tested it before and it was fine. Never mind. We'll live with it. Anyway, this is very unusually for a Acqua Di Parma scent. It's actually credited to somebody, but I don't think the credit officially comes from Acqua Di Parma. So, if the internet is to be believed, this was made by, I think, Daphne Bouget. But who knows? Could be wrong. We have pre-sprayed blotter of this as well. So off we go. Right. I feel like today, a lot of the time I'm going to be saying, starts well. And why do I say it starts well? It's because it's actually quite an unexpected jasmine. It doesn't play it quite as safe as some other mainstream jasmines would. And let's face it, Acqua Di Parma is a mainstream brand. It's owned by LVMH. It's not trying to be particularly niche or edgy. If you get a perfume that claims to have a prominent jasmine note from the likes nowadays of, I don't know, Lancôme or Dolce & Gabbana or Versace or Dior even, you can kind of usually expect it to be a fairly neutered sort of jasmine, a jasmine without the indolic notes, a pretty floral. This isn't merely pretty, and in fact it actually pushes out those mothball-like camphory indolic notes certainly more than I thought it would. And there is something quite kind of cool and mineralic and interesting about it. Now, it isn't a naturalistic jasmine. I don't know if it's trying to be a naturalistic jasmine in the sense that it does not replicate that extraordinary sensation of, at certain times of the day when jasmines are at their most potent. It doesn't replicate that feel of, you're sort of walking beneath some jasmine bushes and your head actually turns. You just kind of think, oh my goodness, where is this amazing smell coming from? Natural jasmine is really one of nature's great miracles, because it somehow manages to be both animalic and carnal and heady and intoxicating, and yet just so fragile and delicate and gentle at the same time. It's a really extraordinary feat. It's much more carnal than, say, rose. Rose is a complex enough sense as it is, but there's something different happening with jasmine. It doesn't replicate that, but as a kind of herbal, cool, mineralic jasmine, it's certainly got an interesting opening. Now, before we do the pre-spray blotter, let me tell you what the brand says about it. So here we go, our first press release of this new season. Acqua Di Parma introduces Gelsomino a Freddo, a vibrant and bold EDP crafted from the ancient technique of cold enfleurage. Stepping out on the balcony, drawn by the sun and filled with jasmines, it's time for a pause, an afternoon tea, an invitation to savour the moment, a journey through time, tradition and the delicate dynamics of light and shadow with the new Gelsomino a Freddo EDP, an ode to craftsmanship and contrasts. Okay, what do they say? Crafted from the ancient technique of cold enfleurage, a thorough and time-consuming process that gently captures the purest olfactive essence of jasmine, the vibrant and bold composition joins Acqua Di Parma's Signatures of the Sun collection. Time is the most precious ingredient in this new fragrance, where the name a Freddo reflects the rare craftsmanship of the method. Jasmine flowers are carefully hand-placed on purified shea butter and left for 48 hours to release their essence under supervision of a master perfumer. This process is repeated multiple times, with fresh flowers replacing the previous ones until the butter is fully infused with the essential oil. The process ensures the capture of every nuanced olfactive molecule, preserving the flower's natural complexity and richness in the resulting jasmine enfleurage essence. It's a method steeped in heritage, where human expertise elevates nature to its most sublime expression. The olfactory construction of Gelsomino a Freddo embodies the tension between purity and depth. The luminous white jasmine symbolises light, while black tea and guaiac wood add smoky undertones, creating a bold and unexpected duality. Oh no, they have credited Daphne Bouget, okay, because I haven't read the press release yet. So, well done, ADP. This must be one of the first times they have actually credited a perfumer. Creating this fragrance presented a double challenge. The first was balancing the contrasting elements while elevating the jasmine enfleurage extraction. Creating a genderless jasmine fragrance was the second challenge, finding the middle ground between the floral and woody elements of the composition, says perfumer Daphne Bouget. The result is a complex composition where the cold essence of jasmine meets the smoky facets of black tea, gaiac wood, and patchouli, culminating in a gender-neutral fragrance that defies convention. Pff, hard sell. Bruxa says, I'd like to know how many molecules of this insanely rare and expensive jasmine they put into each bottle. Well, yes, you know, if they're saying that it's in there, I'm sure they're not lying, but they're not telling us how much is in there. One petal per bottle, I don't know. The top notes of Italian lemon, pink pepper and artemisia bring a zesty, uplifting opening, while the heart reveals jasmine, enfleurage essence, black tea and orris concrete. The base notes of gaiac wood, cypriol and patchouli essence anchor the fragrance with warmth and structure. Anchor it with structure. Yeah. Leaving a lasting impression that resonates. The new transparent signatures of the sun fragrance bottle. Okay, we don't need to know so much about the bottle. Gosh, they've gone one step further. They're actually telling us something about Daphne Bouget. Well, let's find out. Daphne Bouget discovered her passion for perfumery at the age of 10 and pursued it with unwavering determination, from collecting fragrance bottles and advertisements as a child to developing a deep understanding of the perfume market before starting her training. Her curiosity and dedication have defined her journey. A modern adventurer, she finds inspiration in both nature and thrilling experiences like paragliding and kitesurfing. Her love for exploration extends beyond physical activities to a year-long sabbatical, where she immersed herself in diverse cultures and practices. She meditated and paraglided in Japan, presumably not at the same time. Paraglided, past tense of paraglide. I quite like paraglode. She paraglode in Japan, in Nepal, participated in Japanese tea and incense ceremonies, learned Ayurveda in India, and studied the emotional power of fragrance in Italy. So she kept herself quite busy, right? I don't think we need to read any more. And then it carries on. There's also a candle and there's a reed diffuser. Okay, just a typical working day, says David. I know, that's exactly what I was thinking. Well, how do you do your meditation? Well, you know, I quite like it while I'm abseiling. And anyway, this is almost a novel and not a description, says Noah. Well, yeah, but it was quite good, though. I quite enjoyed it. Ben says, hi everyone, I got the Gratte-Ciel. Oh, we're on to Lutin's. What are you going to tell us then? Of Fille en Aiguille for £125. Is that a good deal? Oh, somebody else can tell you if it's a good deal. Sean says, I despise companies using gender in perfumery. There's literally no such thing as male, female, unisex in perfume. You and I and all the rest of us, I think, agree, but there are still people out there who don't. Now, you can tell there's a but coming. Pre-sprayed Gelsomino. I just think that towards the end, it just loses the jasmine and becomes a rather predictable and actually maybe a little bit too retro patchouli scent. And if they're going on and about how gender neutral it is, if we're really playing that game, if we're playing the sort of stereotypical this perfume equals this gender, then actually I think it becomes more masculine towards the end, and just a bit rough, a bit harsh, considering that the technique is so delicate and so gentle. I'm not sure that delicacy comes through in the final scent, but it's a very pleasant opening, and I will give it another wear. And at least two members of the family, when they first sprayed it and smelt it, they did a kind of, ooh, that's interesting. It is interesting. It is an interesting opening. It's an unexpected opening. It's not as tame and safe and innocuous as you might have thought a jasmine from Acqua Di Parma might be. Noah says, I wonder if she paraglided to Japan. Paraglode. Other past tense of paraglide. Paraglid. I paraglid while I meditated. Stefano says, why wouldn't a realistic jasmine be genderless? Good question. I think it would. Did I imply that it wouldn't? I think it would. Yes, I think it would. But let's move on. What should we do next? Let's go on to the Aesop. This is another kind of strange name from Aesop. So they've called this one Above Us Steorra. This camera thing is bugging me so much. What? Let's just see if we can let me just change the setting. Maybe that's what needs to happen. So is this gonna do it? Let's see. No. Let's try one more. No. Okay, Persolaise is going to have to go back to the drawing board and see what happens. Ah, okay. So you just needed me to unclick and click again, did you? Annoying tech. Okay, so here we go. In perfect sharp focus. I hope you appreciate this 1080p. Above us, Steorra. What are you wearing? Above us, Steorra. Yes, but what are you wearing? Above us, Steorra. Yes, but what are you wearing? Okay, fine. But at least it's original, and there are not going to be many perfumes out there that people search for on Google that are called Above Us, Steorra. You know, a comma in a perfume name is a curious thing, a strange thing. Some would say an unnecessary thing. I would be one of those people. John says, perfumes should be equally for men and women. However, like the rest of life, there are such qualities in perfumes as masculine and feminine. Masculine qualities being more acting and doing. Can of worms open. Let's not open that can of worms. Folks, direct your queries and comments to John, but maybe not on this chat, because I don't want to have to start monitoring this. Let's just put that to one side. Let's just leave it at perfumes are for everybody. Steorra means star, says Maria. Yes, thank you. So it's Above Us, the Stars. This is by Celine Barrel, who I believe made the last one, and I think has made quite a few for them. Where's my pre-labelled blotter? This one also, I think, gets off to an interesting start. So here we go. Above Us, Steorra. Let us have a sniff. How are we doing for time, by the way? I've kind of completely lost track of the time now with all my messing around with focus pulling. Right, so a lot of you will know that I do quite like cool, spicy openings. I think we don't have enough cool, spicy openings in perfumes. This is a nicely done mineralic cardamom, but in that typical Aesop way. It's not overplayed. Maybe there's a suggestion of nutmeg there. Maybe there's a suggestion of cinnamon. What this has to do with seeing stars above us, I have no idea, but it's an attractive opening. And as it starts, you think, okay, so is it going to then... Is it going to maintain this interest? Is it going to... And it feels like real quality ingredients, actually. The cardamom oil especially, and the cinnamon, the blend of the two, the kind of heat and the coolness of the two contrasting with each other is really, really lovely. But it's exactly the kind of scent where you think, okay, so this could either be a real letdown afterwards, because it could just become a bit wan and pale and spineless and kind of generically woody, or it could go into a quiet but very, very interesting and refined dry down, you know, almost along the lines of, I don't know, something like Geza Schoen's Ormond Man for Ormond Jane. Noah says, starts off interesting is usually not a good sign. Well, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. I do love a cardamom note, says Sharon. So do I. I really, really, really love a cardamom note. What do they say about it? Well, I will tell you. So, it's a fragrance, they say, that conjures the scent of amber with a constellation of, I wonder what came first, the constellation or the name. Constellation of frankincense, labdanum and vanilla bean, enlivened by a radical streak of cardamom. A radical streak of cardamom that lends a fresh, near citrus spice. Well, it does, but it doesn't have to be a radical streak of cardamom. So they say that it is ambery, woody and spicy. And they reckon that it's suited to all genders, to astrophiles, to gemologists and to sommeliers. And their key ingredients, they reckon, are cardamom, vanilla bean and frankincense. Well, at least they're not saying a huge amount more about it. A compelling constellation, they go on to say, glowing amber, a unique fabulist accord, fabulist, of frankincense, labdanum and vanilla bean. And I mean, if by that they mean that it's kind of fantastical, then that is not an unusual accord in perfumery at all. Conjures the imagined scent of amber, making the unscented aromatic, okay, Sizzling cardamom. The cardamom is now sizzling. A radical streak of cardamom soars from incandescent spice in the opening notes to glimmering warmth in the base. And that is it. Okay, so not the most edifying prose moment that we've ever had from Aesop. Some of their prose descriptions in the past, I think, have been more suitably prosaic. Mira says, I got to sniff this in Aesop yesterday and I liked it a lot. Paragliding cardamom. Yes, yeah, it streaks past. The cardamom paraglid into the fabulous accord. But coming back to the perfume, it's very, very, very attractive. And actually smelling it now, the spicy opening is not a million miles away from the brand's own Marrakesh Intense, which I love and which you should try if you never have. It's really great. Pre-sprayed. I keep looking over there. Pre-sprayed Aesop. By the way, for those of you interested, this was sprayed about 3 or 4 hours ago. Okay. Okay, so interesting. This is nicely done. This is very, very attractive. It doesn't actually go thin and reedy and insubstantial and ghostly. It maintains that same note. I'm going to have to wear this because it'll be very interesting to see how it actually technically functions while you're wearing it. Because blotter is one thing. Although when I wear perfumes, I like to do a combination of fabric and skin because you get sort of interesting contrasting experience. But this is nicely done. It's a nicely done amber base. The labdanum and that fabulous accord of the labdanum and the vanilla comes through really well, and you still get a suggestion of the spice, which is interesting. And it's actually making me think of Guerlain's Ombre Samar from earlier this year. So yes, one of the better Aesops, and it proves again that when they kind of keep themselves to this territory of spices and resins and balsams, for some reason they seem to produce more interesting, more attractive work. If I had to be critical, I would say probably not terribly original, and quite close to Marrakesh Intense, which makes you think, okay, so where are they going? What are they trying to do with this? Why did they feel that they needed it? But I guess it's a bit less intense. Marrakesh Intense. It's a bit cooler. It's a bit less dramatic. It is actually a bit less going down to the souk in Marrakesh. But why the stars? I mean, I suppose maybe the pinpricks of the spices are meant to represent the stars. I'm not sure. Okay, let us move on. Where am I putting these blotters, by the way? We've got 3 to go, and I need to just check the time because what is the time here? It's 10 to 6. Okay, we're doing fine then. Okay, let us now move on to... Let's do this new one from Isabelle Larignon. Now, Isabelle Larignon is a brand that I wasn't very familiar with until quite recently, and I became familiar with it thanks to the always excellent curatorial skills of Brooke Belden from Saint-Celier, the UK-based online perfumery shop. If you're after a very, very good UK-based online perfumery shop, you need to check out Saint-Celier. And the latest one from Isabelle is something called Mandi Rhubi. Bear with me. Okay. And Isabelle herself, I believe, was trained by Bertrand Duchaufour, but is now completely doing her own thing. And even though she doesn't have very many perfumes to her name, a lot of them have got a very, very strong following. Lots of people love Milky Dragon. Lots of people love Le Flocon de Johann K. I was taken with last year's Bangla Yasaman, or was it Yasaman? No, it was Bangla Yasaman. Now that was a really, really hyper-realistic and beautifully done jasmine. This is her kind of light cologne. Somebody's saying, how do you spell that. I'm guessing you mean the perfume name. I mean, I'll put it all in the video description later, but there you go. It's Mandi, Mandi, and Rhubi is Rhubi. And that gives you a clue to one of its main ingredients, because this starts off very definitely as a rhubarb scent. It is a rhubarby cologne, and a very well done rhubarby cologne. And I keep saying it's a cologne because I guess I'm trying to say it's not the kind of scent that we should expect to last for a very long time. And oh, the shop's name, says Mark Chang, Saint Cellier, but I always forget whether Saint has got an E on the end of it. I'll try and remember to do mention it in the video description, but if you just search for Cellier, Cellier, Saint Cellier, then you will find it. So this is exactly what you would want: a bright, zingy, fresh, green, but not overly citrusy and certainly not cliched cologne to be. That's one thing that we can definitely say about Isabelle Larignon's work. She doesn't go for the obvious. She doesn't go for the cliches. I think that's why she takes her time and only releases one perfume a year or one perfume every 2 years. She really, really doesn't want to play it safe. And hats off to her. We need more people like that. We need more people who are just trying to give us something that feels a bit more authentic and genuine. It's got the pepperiness of rhubarb, and it is a very, very naturalistic rhubarb note. I mean, I don't know if it's a natural ingredient that she's used. It has got a kind of lemon inflection to it as well, but you don't get a kind of obvious citrus, a cliched citrus hit at all. And something minty, definitely something green, and almost something peony-like, a kind of pink gentleness, and I don't know if I said pepper, but really, really, really strongly peppery as well. Very nicely done. The press material that came with it is really quite long, so I'm not going to read all of it, but just to give us a taste of what it's about. Right, what's she saying? So there's lots and lots of things about. This was launched in May apparently. And what does she say? Technically speaking, Mandi Rhubi is built around a citrus, vegetal, fruity axis, evoking a forgotten yet revitalized freshness. Blackcurrant, yes, that's the key point. It's got that kind of slightly Uranus feel, and that connection between the blackcurrant and the rhubarb and the greenness and the citruses is really well done. Tomato leaf, galbanum, green rhubarb, isobutyl quinoline, which is a leathery material, and a spectrum of bright sunlit citruses. And she also goes on to give, so the notes are bergamot, lemon, lime, mandarin, rhubarb, blackcurrant, elemi wood, galbanum, black pepper, cedar, cypress, and vetiver, and a few interesting little facts that she's given about it. She says Mandi Rhubi shouldn't have existed. Isabelle was due to release a fourth perfume inspired by one of Ovid's Metamorphoses, but the creative process of this formula seemed too serious and too ascetic. As autumn dawned, I longed to relive the magic of summer nights, the intoxication of dancing and basking in the sunlight. In contrast to my daily urban grind, I craved for nature, lightness, carefreeness, and the heart's tremors. The idea of a fizzy, fleshy, green perfume was born. And it's very well done, but I want to smell that, the Ovid one. Mandi Rhubi is not a cologne. Journalist Sarah Boas, the first person to put her nose to the perfume, retorted, "That's not a little cologne at all. It's like a modern Germain Cellier." Because the mind is reassured by categorization, we could say that Mandi Rhubi is an eau de parfum with the spirit of a cologne, or a cologne with a kick. And I go along with that, actually. That's a good description. Mandi Rhubi was almost called 13 centimetres and l'Acqua Bon, a French pun with Acqua Bon, which apparently means what's the point, that would have paid homage to Serge Gainsbourg's song L'Aquaboniste, the What's the Point Man, and above all questioned the relevance of launching yet another cologne. Its storytelling is the most autobiographical in the Isabelle Larignon collection. Behind Mandi Rhubi lies a character that's part autobiography, part fantasy. Mandi Rhubi's story begins with a personal anecdote. At the age of 16, I was studying ballet and contemporary dance. One of my teachers said to me, "You'll end up at Crazy Horse," because she was taller than the average and had all the measurements sought by Bernardin, the founder of the famous Parisian cabaret. Interesting. And the Mandi Rhubi logo is in Isabelle Larignon's handwriting. Looking for a typeface for Mandi Rhubi that would embody both a joyful spirit and a kind of retro elegance, Isabelle finally opted for her own handwriting. Gosh, I wish my handwriting was like that. Let's take a look at that again. I think maybe I'll get her to do my Christmas cards this year, shall we? That's very, very attractive. Okay, so what are you folks saying about it? Any recommendations for rhubarb scented perfumes, says Oriana. I will let the folks here recommend. EcoJock says that is so cruel and funny. I guess that's a Crazy Horse story, right? Noah says, is the rhubarb note tart? Yes, I would say it is. I miss that in the perfumes that claim to have a rhubarb note in them. Crazy Horse wouldn't be a bad place to work, says Noah. No, I was kind of thinking that as well. How does this dry down? Well, we don't expect it to last terribly long. And yeah, it's lost its sharpness, it's lost its tartness, but it doesn't go into musky cliches, and is just very, very pleasantly and very naturalistically and very convincingly light woody. Okay, right. Let's keep going. Brand new from Nicolai. This is, I think it's only just been released. This is their Creme Ebene, composed by Patricia Di Nicolai, who's the founder of the brand and is their perfumer. I was very, very taken with their Patchouli Spirit that they released earlier this year as a Harrods exclusive. I don't know if it's a Harrods exclusive just to the UK or whether that's a global exclusive, but certainly in the UK it was a Harrods exclusive. This sees Nicolai in an interesting mode, and I think I said this in a recent video where I was talking about the brand. You can feel a tension in the Nicolai brand, and you can definitely feel that tension in this particular perfume. Nicolai built its reputation, quite rightly, its considerable reputation, deserved reputation, on perfumes that very much followed a kind of classical model. Patricia Di Nicolai is just, you know, there are a few people who are better than her, if anybody, at creating the kind of 3-act perfume structure, a perfume that takes you on a journey, a perfume, you know, that doesn't just kind of, you know, wimp out after the top notes, but takes you through to a beautiful heart section and a truly, truly gorgeous dry down. You know, she really cares about dry downs. Those are the sorts of scents which built the Nicolai name. The perfume landscape has changed over the last few years, as all of you will know, and I guess one of the things that you need to do now if you want to expand, if you want to go into different markets, if you want to go into Harrods, is you have to play to a certain sort of sensibility. And I've personally detected, not that it's been quite hard to detect, I mean, I'm not trying to make out that only I have detected this, lots of people have, I'm sure. This wanting to attract Middle Eastern attention, Middle Eastern money, Middle Eastern clientele. Patricia Di Nicolai came out with several oud perfumes a few years ago, which were really great, by the way, as a collective. They were really, really beautifully done. I love her incense oud. But you can almost feel how she... And this Creme Ebene is a very good example of this. You can almost feel like she's thinking, oh gosh, so I suppose I'd better do XYZ style Arabian perfume, but I want to try and do it my way. I want to try and do it in a way that I would consider to be classy, that I would consider to be sophisticated. Because Nicolai as a brand, you know, its feel is very, very definitely classy, very sophisticated. So what is Creme Ebene? Creme Ebene is the kind of perfume that we've had a few times already from brands, and it's doing the Arabian thing where it tries to take spice notes, date notes, saffron, you know, a touch of leather, woodiness, not overtly oudi, but is almost trying to do that kind of slightly gourmand date and saffron Arabic thing. A recent example that comes to mind, and I hope this is correct, but do you remember when Memo, the brand Memo, did their Abu Dhabi scent? That was kind of like that, and it worked quite well, I thought. I mentioned Guerlain's Ombre Samar a few minutes ago. That's very definitely trying to do that sort of thing as well. Does it very well. Delphine Yelk composed that. That goes more into amber and frankincense territories rather than woods. This is heading into the woods, but it's that type of scent. Noah says, isn't Patricia related to the Guerlain family? No, she absolutely is, but I always forget the connection. I think she's Jean-Paul Guerlain's niece, no, she can't be his granddaughter. Oh, I always forget, but yes, she has got Guerlain blood in her veins. So this is, it's fascinating because you can almost feel Patricia de Nicolai agonizing over this, going, ooh, if I don't put enough of the heavy wood stuff, is it actually going to cater to the tastes of the audience that I want to try to attract? And if I put too much, is it going to compromise the Nicolai DNA? And I think she manages that quite agonizing balance generally pretty well. I'll be very curious to see what the pre-sprayed blotter is doing. I deliberately haven't smelt it. She's also really great at doing something that not a lot of perfumers are given a chance to do nowadays, which is to create a sort of abstract blend. And I personally love abstraction in perfumes. So you get the spices, you get the dates, you get the saffron, but it's not overplayed. And there is a kind of creaminess to it. There is something quite sensual and almost kind of like whipped cream velvet-like about it, which I suppose is the sort of point of difference between this and some of the other scents in the same genre. But this roughness keeps coming back. And that's okay if it doesn't get too prominent, because actually it adds a sense of intrigue. It adds a sense of something interesting happening, a sense of contrast. So let's see what they say about it. Not a huge amount, I don't think, but I will tell you in a moment. So they say the main notes that they cite are dates, cedar and sandalwood. Creme Ebene, they say, reveals the unexpected combination of a soft, milky cream with the depth of dark woods. Its scent envelops the skin in a comforting warmth where woody notes blend into a creamy, almost tactile texture for a signature that is both tender and powerful. And they reckon it has cardamom essence, cumin and saffron at the top, cedar, two different types of cedar wood and date in the heart, and papyrus, sandalwood, patchouli and vanilla and white musks in the base. A little bit more. Creme Ebene is an enchanting fragrance which blends the majestic strength of precious woods with the addictive sweetness of creamy notes highlighted by leather and spices. A bouquet of spices, cardamom, cumin and saffron weaves a captivating, mysterious aura that opens onto a woody soul anchored by the noble elegance of cedar. A note softened by the sweet, velvety generosity of medjool dates and creamy vanilla provides roundness and subtlety. This intense eau de parfum ultimately reveals a deeper, darker facet, a refined leather infused with papyrus essence with slightly smoky accents, blends with the earthy richness of patchouli, the milky warmth of sandalwood, and the sensual touch of white musk for an enveloping and seductive attire. A textured elegance, both opulent and intimate, like a warm breeze on bare skin. Definitely worth revisiting. I'd imagine this would have quite a good sillage, actually. Right, pre-sprayed Creme Ebene. Dino says, Patricia de Nicolai is the great-granddaughter of Pierre Guerlain and the niece of Jean-Paul Guerlain. Okay, makes sense. Thank you very much. Trahan, sorry if I mispronounced. Carl says, I purchased Cap Neroli earlier this summer. Love it. That's a good one. That's a really good one. It was my summer favourite along with Hermès Neroli Doré. Gosh, I haven't thought about that one for a while. Geneviève says, how much cumin are you picking up? Not a huge amount, but usually that's a note that comes more prominently on skin. Anyway, pre-sprayed Creme Ebene. No, that balance has been maintained, actually, if this blotter is anything to go by. It's okay, because I was really worried. I was really worried that it would go down the rough woods way. But I have a feeling I mean, it has got a bit rougher than it is in the opening, but you know, it's not nowhere near the kind of, you know, Ambery Woods disaster area. Definitely want to try on skin properly. Very, very quickly before we do the final one that I want to talk about, as we're talking Nicolai, I just want to mention the iris. A few people have asked me about this one, and I haven't been able to get my hands on any drops of it. This is the iris Medici that was released, I think, in 2023. In the UK, it's exclusive to Fortnum & Mason. And just very quickly, we're not going to spend a lot of time on this one. It's a really, really nicely done and not overdone iris. Really great opening, but I can't really realistically ever see it getting into the kind of, you know, greatest iris scents of all time compositions, because it's just not diva enough. I don't think it's dramatic enough. But it's got the rooty quality, it's got the earthy quality, it's got that kind of carrot-like, powdery, woody quality, I suppose. But it's all done in a gentle way, and maybe it is meant to be, you know, I mean, if we take the more elevated aspects of the Medici story, we could see this as trying to be a supremely refined iris, and it's a very, very sun-filled, sun-suffused iris. If you wanted, you know, if you were looking for an iris that doesn't have a huge amount of drama, and is quite translucent, you could do a lot worse than this one. Alex says, reminds me of Après Landais mixed with a bit of insolence. There's definitely an Après Landais thing here, but without the sadness, but, you know, which is obviously not a bad thing. Iris Medici is beautiful, says Alex. Okay, glad you like it. So looking forward to hearing about Iris Medici, says Mira. Okay, such a glorious iris. Okay, so you're all taken with it a little bit more than I am, I think. Interesting. Ian says, I've caught a live stream, no way, discovered this brilliant channel a few weeks ago. Thank you very much, you're very welcome. Let's see what the dry down is doing for the Iris Medici. Okay, you know, I guess it's not trying to be dramatic, so I shouldn't try to, you know, so I shouldn't judge it for its refusal to be dramatic. It's a nicely done dry down, actually. It's a proper Nicolai dry down where that iris personality is very, very definitely intact. So 10 out of 10 for technical achievement. Perhaps I was being a bit too harsh on it. Maybe I need to give it a few more wearings, but I think maybe with me, where I immediately went with a name like Iris Medici, I thought this was going to be, you know, a truly grand iris, whereas maybe this is a kind of, you know, Florentine spring iris. Oh, Sharon, that's very, very kind. Thank you very much. I always look forward to September and the return of the live videos. Another greatest chat. You're very, very kind. That's really, really sweet. Thank you. I recommend trying it on skin, says Alex. The dry down is very different on skin. I have worn it on skin a little bit, but anyway, I will give it another chance. But you know, I don't want to sort of damn it with faint praise. I do think it's really, really very nicely done, but I just can't see myself reaching for it necessarily when I want an iris kick. Anyway, one that I can see myself reaching for, and I've tried to sort of save the most dramatic for the last. This is brand new from Parfum d'Empire, one of our favourite brands here on this channel, as you know. The brand founded by Marc-Antoine Corticato, who is the perfumer for it as well. And this is called Madagascar Le Baume Vanille. So is that the vanilla balm, I suppose? Is that what it means? We need to get spraying, okay? And we have got a press leaflet as well. This is wicked stuff. This is really, really... I haven't done the pre-sprayed blot of those. I haven't smelt it, so let's hope it's good. So, now, funnily enough, I think I've appreciated everything this brand has ever made, says Jake. I know. There isn't a dud. There isn't a dud in this brand. There are some that I like more than others. There are some that are more interesting than others. But every single one is worth your time. Every single one has been made with genuineness and with authenticity. And you can see the thought behind it. You can see, you can see the concept, all the way from the smell through to the name. I mean, just top-notch stuff. One of the best brands around at the moment, one of the best brands of all time. Olivier says, I had the opportunity to smell this in July in Grasse. Loved it. Quality 3+. The only dud, says Woozy, in the brand is Salute, which reminds me of cask wine. See, but I think that was interesting. Anyway. Or as we call it in Australia, goon. Ah, okay, I didn't know that. Anyway, so it starts off as a really wicked, boozy, rummy, woody, wood barrel-y, spicy, smoky, unguent vanilla. What was I about to say? I was about to say that a few days ago, on one of the things that I posted, I think, on YouTube, on one of the short videos, we had a brief conversation with some people about how vanilla has just become, in a way, the most mindless, the most insipid of notes. And this is almost like Marc-Antoine Corticato turning around and saying, but I'm going to give you the real stuff, and you will see that actually it's one of the most glorious materials in the perfumer's palette. Now, if you've ever had the pleasure of using a real vanilla pod in some cooking, like if you're doing some baking or making some sweets or something, you will know that the smell of a vanilla pod, of a good quality vanilla pod, probably even actually a poor quality vanilla pod, is really something else. It's so nuanced, it's so faceted. Yes, it's sweet and it's got that kind of balsamic, almost powdery quality to it, but it's leathery and it's woody and it's smoky and it's barbecued, and it's just fascinating. And when you put that, when you use actual vanilla seeds in homemade ice cream, you kind of get the whole point of why vanilla as an ice cream flavour has endured for as long as it has. Because sometimes I think if you go and buy shop vanilla ice creams, you think, well, why is anybody eating this stuff? Because it just smells like, sweet candle wax. Real vanilla smells like clay, says Tool. Yes, it's got that kind of quality to it as well, I would agree. And this has got everything in here. When I first smelt this, and I don't think this is particularly the aesthetic that the brand is going with, but when I first smelt this, I actually thought of the witches in Macbeth brewing up a storm in their cauldron and creating something very, very enticing and very seductive. Because the whole point of the Macbeth story, I suppose, is that they're both frightening and enticing. They're tempting. They're tempting people towards their doom. And this is this kind of composition. It's the kind of thing where you don't know if you want to eat it or if you want to pour it all over yourself and just get somebody to eat you and just be consumed by it. Offenlich says, so does this also dry down kind of balsamic resinous like Vanille Van from Les Indemodables? Well, we are about to find out. Let's just do a bit of the leaflet there. This is what the full bottle of it looks like. So it's the standard Parfum d'Empire bottle. A balm for the heart, it says, distilling the vegetal treasures of Madagascar, where Marc-Antoine Corticato spent countless days between the bush and crops. A balm to drink. The olfactory imprint of the scent of blonde vanilla, forever engraved in the perfumer's memory, that of a fabulous beverage composed by a young Madagascan woman, reinvented here as a generous sillage. A vanilla balm, the opulent flesh of a plump, fatty pod, split. Actually, fatty is a good word as well. It's quite fleshy, yes. Split to release its fragrant black seeds, expressed in Madagascar through 3 natural extracts. Tincture, CO2 extract and vanilla absolute run through the composition. From top to base notes, these rich materials unfold balmy animalic aromas that evoke the richness of the pod, enhanced by tones of wood, leather, hay and tobacco. Tobacco and hay are good ones to mention as well. To remain faithful to the original recipe of vanilla pods infused in aged rum, Marc-Antoine Corticato has drawn on the sumptuous palate of the island of Madagascar, peppercorns, cloves and cinnamon sticks combined with the almost animal depth of cocoa beans, freshly grated coconut flesh. A flash of milky whiteness in this amber elixir enhances its creamy texture. I'm just saying yes, yes, yes. It really is as rich as that description makes it sound, and also very, very abstract. Particularly rich in balms, oils and resins, the formula of Madagascar requires a level of craftsmanship that has all but disappeared today. Another rare luxury is the long maceration process that allows each ingredient to express itself to the fullest. And then it finishes with a quote from Monsieur Corticato himself. It is an unforgettable beverage that I sought to recreate in this vanilla balm. When I was spending long periods in Madagascar with my longtime collaborator Lucien Aquaron, the very friendly and cheerful daughter of one of our Madagascan partners once offered me a drink she had concocted herself using natural ingredients from the country, including an impressive bunch of vanilla pods that had been left to ripen in the sun for a long time. The mixture was left to macerate for several weeks in a very old rum, eventually producing a unique elixir of profound richness. Just thinking about it makes my mouth water even today. This starts off really well. Please, pre-sprayed blotter, be good. Tool says all the real vanilla ingredients are diabolically expensive. I wonder what's the dosage in this one. I don't know. Maybe the brand would tell us. Okay, so pre-sprayed Madagascar. It's perhaps a bit more linear than we might expect a perfume from this brand to be, but it's all in there. It's all intact. Leathery, rummy, spicy, boozy, and properly vanillic and smoky. I was already thinking, ooh, I think I need to start thinking about my list of the top 10 for the year. It's nicely done. But just as a kind of segue, how are we doing for time? Have we still got a little bit of time? Because I don't want to take up too much of your time. We've got a couple of minutes. Let's just go back to the Nicolai, because I'm just curious about the cumin note. So let me just spray some Creme Ebene on the back of my hand here, just a tiny bit, to see how it acts. How much sweetness, please, Mr. P, says Yvette. It is sweet, but it is absolutely not... We're talking about the vanilla, right? It is absolutely not sickly sweet, because it is balanced by all of these other elements so well that the sweetness is just part of the whole picture. It's really, really extremely well done. Creme Ebene. So at the moment, anyway, having sprayed it just 15 seconds ago, it's not heavy on the cumin, but the spices are really, really nicely done. That kind of connection between the cardamom and the nutmeg and whatever else is in there. This one definitely needs a proper wearing on skin, as does the Parfum d'Empire. Okay, folks, we are back. We've done it. We have resumed the season. Rachel says, Nicolai is my favourite house after Guerlain. I have loads and I'm currently having a love affair with my big bottle of Neroli Intense after getting through 2 little ones. And Rachel agrees that incense oud is beautiful. Yvette says, that sounds perfection, thank you. Alex says, there's a very nice cumin note in rose oud too. I agree. And Anna says, speaking of vanillas, which do you prefer? Guerlain's Vanilla Planifolia or Jevoy's Fire and Will? I don't know the Jevoy, and I wasn't that crazy about those expensive vanillas. I thought they were a bit basic and so expensive. Rachel says, for date frags, I love Desert Suave, so might Creme Ebene be a bit redundant? Which one's that? Is that Nicolai as well? I don't remember that one. Okay. Stay tuned to social media for details of new videos coming your way. As I say, if you've enjoyed this one, please give it a thumbs up. There are lots and lots and lots of things that I want to try to cover with you over the weeks to come before we finish the year, either on here or on the Substack. There's the new Jill Sander collection. There's the Shalimar 100th anniversary scent. Gosh, my mind has gone blank now. The new Diptyque by Quentin Biche. That's interesting. Lots and lots of things, and I'm sure there are lots that I don't even know about. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you soon. Bye now.